All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are about to get underway, and my name is Rana Gill. I am one of the founding board members of CALD. To begin, I would like to introduce Elder Myrna Kiknoswe for the land acknowledgement and welcome.
Wana vajon nanda wai makanadok ishkote makasan kwayandish na kaz mondo dem bakajanan and dunjaba Buddha wadami odawa nishnabi kwayanda niswi madame. I just introduced myself in our language here. My spirit name, which is my real name, is Fire Moccasin Woman, and I'm from the Loon clan. I honor both my mother and my father. My father's the Buddhawadami part of me, and he's Loon clan or Hmong. My mother, she's the Odawa part of me, and her clan is Crane clan or Jajak. I live on Bakajanon territory, which is on the beginning of where Lake St. Clair ends.
It's a 2-hour thing.
This is 2 hours?
The St. Clair River and Lake St. Clair, and we're the Delta. This is the homeland of the Three Fires Confederacy. I'm also third degree Madawan. And so I've been following this path for quite a few years. I made a choice that this is what I wanted my children and my grandchildren to know and understand. So that was the beginning of my journey. In the past few years, I've been involved with the University of Windsor in their Indigenous legal orders. I assist with students who may have some things they need to talk about, and I've been doing these kinds of things of doing opening prayers for meetings, as well as a bunch of other things. So it's really wonderful to be here. It's really wonderful. And I would like to remind you that we are all connected as humankind. We are all connected. No matter where you are in the world, we are connected. And we're all connected because we are here right now at this time and place, and our relatives have been here for time immemorial. So I encourage you to build those relationships, not only with each other, but with the earth, with all of those things that are provided for us. And always find that place which is in the center of us, the center of who we are as original people of the land. And we all have that connection, not only with each other, but with the spirit that brought us here. We all have a responsibility for the earth. We have responsibility for being here at this time in this place, just as our ancestors did since the beginning of time. With that, I would like you to be able to focus and be able to sit and ground yourself so that anything you may be carrying into this meeting gets set aside so that you can be fully present here at this moment. I ask you to close your eyes. Your feet are flat on the floor. You'll be able to feel the connection you have wherever you are to the earth as I do an opening prayer. Just remember to breathe, because often people, because of different things that happened in their lifetimes, have forgotten how to breathe. And that's breathing in the beautiful energy that the creation has for us, holding it inside of us, and blowing anything negative out of our mouths. So with those thoughts in mind, I'll open with a prayer. Abba Shuma Shamas. Ishkote Makasan Klandis Nakaz Mondo Dem. Bakajanon and Dunjaba. Buddha Wadami Odo Nishnabi Kwanda. Niswi. Medema. Oh, Chimi Gwachikashem Nado, for bringing us here together. Bringing us here and touching each other at this time and this place in creation. I say Chimigwech to you for all that you have given us, from all those things we see and all those things we cannot see. The wind, the rain, the ice, the snow, the rocks, and the fire. The four-legged, the two-legged, the winged ones that fly in the air, things that crawl on the earth, things that swim in the water. I say Chimigwech and Mommy Gwendam, I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for all the plants, all the medicines, all the herbs that are around the world that bring us life. I say Chimigwech to them. Chimigwech for the sun that travels across the sky during the day, for the moon that travels across the sky during the night. Chimigwech for our most precious Earth Mother, the one who provides the sustenance for us as humankind. The water we drink, the air we breathe, and the food we eat. I say, truly grateful that she is following her original instructions. Bring that life to us. I offer prayers for all of us who are here so that we can bond together as one heart, one body, one mind, one spirit, one soul, and one voice to do the work that we were intended to do. I say Chimigwech for the four directions, the east, the south, the west, and the north. I say Chimigwech for the four colors of man or humankind, the yellow, the red, the black, and the white. I say Chimigwech to all of those spiritual leaders around the world who are thinking of us at this time, who are thinking of us in all that they do. For the songs, the ceremonies, the drums, the shakers, all of those things that help us be the unique human beings that live on this creation. I say Chimigwech to you and Mommy Gwendam. I say Chimigwech for you for all those things that are here for us to enjoy, that breath of life that you gave us, those things that we take for granted, all those unique things that help us to become the human beings we are here on this creation. I say Chimigwech for that. I say also give prayers to all of those ones who are experiencing loss at this time, all those ones who are unwell mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, or in their souls, that you can be with them and provide them those things that they need to continue on their life journey here. I say Chimigwech to you. Chimigwech for watching us over us this day, keeping us safe, keeping us whole, so that we can become, when we join together, that one heart, one body, one mind, one spirit, and one soul. I say, Mommy Gwendam, for all that you've given from the sky world to the earth plane to the underground. I say Chimigwech to you, Gajem for being with us, taking time to be with us, and all those ancient ones that have lived on this creation before us. They are looking kindly in our direction. I say Chimigwech to them for helping take care of us this day. Ask us all to be safe this day, to have a good sleep, a good rest, and be at one with all of creation. I say Chimigwech to you, Nikanagana, all my relations. Thank you. Aho.
Thank you so much, Elder Kiknoswy, and everyone here tonight, those attending and those supporting us. We are excited to welcome all of you to our launch event for the Canadian Association of Lawyers with Disabilities. Again, I am Rana. I am sitting in my home office in Edmonton, Alberta. I have short black hair and I'm wearing a blue suit jacket. My pronouns are he, him. There are at least two reasons for tonight's event. First, we are thrilled to host a great panel discussion. A diverse bar is a more competent bar. How disabled legal practitioners are reshaping the practice of law. We will be joined by our panelists, Ali Imri, Joy Luck, and Lorraine MacDonald, and special guest moderator, Joyita Gupta soon. And we do hope to have lots of time for questions and discussion. More on that soon. Before that, however, is our second reason for being here tonight. That is to officially launch the Canadian Association of Lawyers with Disabilities. This event would not have been possible without our sponsors, and we would like to thank the following for their contributions: Lexartia, Peace, Order, and Good Government; Strategic Workplace, Equity, and Conflict Resolution Solutions; Windsor Law, University of Windsor. There is no such thing as safe space, but we aim to create the conditions for a space that is free from hateful or discriminatory conduct. We have worked to secure this online space, but if something happens that raises questions about the safety of this environment, we will end this Zoom session. Please look out for a fresh Zoom link via email through the Eventbrite site. I would now like to introduce Audelia Bay, one of CAL's co-founders.
Thank you so much, Rana. As Rana mentioned, my name is Audelia. I use she, her pronouns. I'm joining you from my home office in Toronto. I have dark chin length hair and I'm wearing a geometric red blouse with a white jacket. In an effort to make this space as accessible as possible, we ask tonight that people speaking provide a visual description of themselves and also be mindful of our captioners and interpreters by not speaking too quickly and being open to clarifying and repeating as needed. I'm going to ask if someone can add in the chat the link, the direct link for the captioning, as I understand that accessing it directly can avoid some of the lag that exists online. This event is also being recorded for those who cannot attend live today. We are using the spotlight function on Zoom, so only the images of those people who are speaking will be visible. If we did have cameras on, I would try to make this a comfortable space for all of those joining by encouraging you to honor your physical, emotional, and mental needs by getting up and stretching, turning off your camera if you need, moving around or sitting still, having food or drink, or even taking a moment to stim if it helps you to join us here today. We also recognize that everyone with a disability is not necessarily able to disclose their status. If you wish to ensure your anonymity today, I would ask that you make sure your camera is off, and you can take a moment now to change your name as it appears here in Zoom. Because our collective disabilities are so diverse and dynamic, we recognize that we may not meet everyone's accommodation needs perfectly. And we ask for your guidance as we grow and improve, and we offer our humility. We know that we can always do better. So please let us know if there's something we can do better tonight, or send us an email with suggestions for future improvement. A few words about CALD, the Canadian Association of Lawyers with Disabilities. I'm going to talk a little bit about my story and try to keep it brief because folks who know me know that I can be a bit wordy. I was in my second year of law school when I was first diagnosed with MS, multiple sclerosis. And it was really difficult to navigate that space, what disclosure meant, what kinds of accommodations I needed, and what the future held more broadly. When I was articling, I didn't know how to make decisions about how, when, or even if to disclose. I know now that I was in a very supportive space, but I didn't at the time. I've watched as classmates and colleagues have had to fight to get articles, to be called to the bar, to find work. And yet, we are largely invisible, often left off the diversity list. My experience isn't unique. When we look at the numbers, almost 25% of Canadians identify as having a disability. And yet when we ask lawyers, that number drops to less than 5%. Why is that? As we will talk about tonight, the knowledge and experiences we have lead to growth. We innovate by necessity. We bend and shape our work and the justice system towards inclusion and accessibility, whether we intend to or not. And it is hard work. We need more of us, and we need to do it together. This idea for founding the organization, I know a number of people have talked about in various settings and at various times. This iteration was over a coffee with Tess Sheldon, who's doing a lot of behind the scenes work today and is a co-founder here of CALD. We talked about the need to have an organization to connect people, to promote growth and advocacy. And together with our founding board members, we were able to get this going, but we're just getting it going. We hope you'll join us as we move and build forward. I would like to thank our other founding board members, including Tess and Rana, who you met earlier. They are Ilea Sumner, Elsa Asensio, Roxanne McKidiak, Bruce Warnsby, and Julia Badi, who we'll meet later. We're going to share more again after the panel about what brings us together and how we frame this project. But we have too many fantastic people to hear from tonight, and we are very grateful for that. So I will say this, that we are launching tonight, but we are still growing. Our aim is to create a professional organization that is broad in scope, democratically led by a very diverse group of folks with disabilities, and that is sustainable. So I mentioned we're going to hear from some wonderful people today. We were just blown away by the support that we are receiving. And we want to share some of that with you who are here tonight. You are all a part of CALD's origin story. My 6-year-old is superhero obsessed. So let's pretend that we are one big collective superhero, and this is our origin story that we're hearing about tonight. We have special guests here tonight, both live and in the form of recorded video. So please help me in welcoming all of them. I will introduce each, and for those who are on video, I will briefly describe the image that will be on the screen. The first video that we have is Catherine Frazee, disability advocate, an activist and writer. So she's joining us by video, and the image that we have in front of us is an image of her she is in her wheelchair. She has glasses. There's a lovely bookshelf with art and books behind her, and looks like wonderful natural light coming in through the window.
The interpreter is letting you know there's no sound.
Try it again.
Greetings, comrades. I don't know many of you, but I am grateful beyond measure that you have come together to form this association and that you now know each other. For what you share and what you are building together is of critical importance in my life and in the lives of Canadians with disabilities, present, past, and future. What you share is, broadly speaking, an experience of disability and the insights and intuitions that flow from that experience. trust those insights and those intuitions. But what you are building together is a body of work, a canon of legal analysis, litigation strategy, foundational debate and discourse. And that work will enrich the lives of disabled people in this country. It will do so by infusing our jurisprudence with nuanced understandings of disability discrimination, disability disadvantage, and disability justice. Understandings that today are woefully inadequate to meet the distinct challenges of disability equality in the face of immense ethical and socio-political pressure. So yes, congratulations to you. But more than that, thank you. Full speed ahead.
Thank you for that, Catherine Frazee. And now we go to Justice Lauren Sawson of the Ontario Court of Appeal.
Thank you, Odelia. My name is Lawrence Sawson. My pronouns are he and him. I join you tonight from my home office as well, surrounded by my favorite books and family photos. I have brown hair. If I were wanting to be honest and precise, let's call it receding brown hair, glasses, and I also am wearing a gray shirt and a dark blue jacket. And for me tonight, it's just such a pleasure and an honor to be included in this launch event, in this origin story for the Canadian Association of Lawyers with Disabilities. It's a day that has been a long time coming, and I hope will be savored by everyone tuning in tonight or able to watch the recording down the road and or listen to the voices or follow the content in whatever and all the ways that one can. Second, I want to congratulate the founding board members, Tess, Odelia, and the others who've been recognized, and others who I know are working hard behind the scenes, who've given so much of their time and energy and passion to bring this association to life. And in the case of this association, even though I know and admire so many of, as Odelia put it, the superheroes involved, I am confident that the sum is going to be greater than the parts. And that, I know, is such an important point in coming together as an association. And I've heard from a number of you individually who recalled those moments where you were the only one in the room feeling excluded, or feeling like more needed to be said, or feeling like there were voices missing, or simply feeling like this wasn't a community that you could belong to in the way that you should have. So the most important goal and accomplishment I know this association will pursue and will achieve is to provide that place to turn for community and support, especially for law students, for new lawyers, for those who are finding their way, and that the legal profession will have a new and invaluable perspective on the justice system to turn to in the association. And even when they don't turn to the association, that they'll hear from the association, how to translate so many of those important aspirations in our justice system into realities for all people with disabilities. Third, and finally, I hope and am confident that this association will shine a bright light on the barriers that too many lawyers and other participants in the justice system and others in our society face. We need that voice, that advocacy, that lived experience, and there is much to learn, much to share, and much to do. But I hope, even when those barriers are a relic of the past, which would be a dream come true to see in our lifetime or the lifetime of those we mentor and wish well and want to see succeed coming in the next generation or the generation after that, even in an inclusive and universally designed future, if and when we get there, there will be an important place for this association as a safe harbor, as a wellspring of support for its members and their many allies. So for all of those reasons, I'm very optimistic, enthusiastic, inspired, heartened to see so many that I recognize around the Zoom screen, and so many that I've never met, and I can't wait to. And I hope I'll continue to score and invite to panels, discussions, shared moments, difficult or happy, that come in the future with this association. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We're now going to hear from lawyer and disability advocate David Lepofsky. He is dressed with a red and black top with several metal dots along the neckline. He'll tell you more about that and where he's speaking from.
Greetings to the Canadian Association of Lawyers with Disabilities. My name is David Lepofsky. I'm a visiting professor at the Osgoode Hall Law School. I'm chair of the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Alliance. I'm blind and I'm a lawyer with a disability. I think it is absolutely fantastic that the CALD has been created. Huge congratulations to those who pulled this together, including my friend who I have a ton of respect and admiration for, Adelia Bay. And to all of you who are pulling this together. I'm here speaking to you from the visual backdrop of the bridge of the Starship Enterprise. And to show what a complete nerd I am, I'm wearing the uniform. Well, actually, it's the captain's uniform for the Star Trek Next Generation. And so I'm crossing over a couple of series at once. But that's because all of this is about having a positive vision of the future. That's one of the reasons I love Star Trek. I think that the legal profession is one where lawyers with disabilities can thrive and succeed, and where there are many lawyers who now have no disability, but in their careers, they're going to get a disability. Canadian Association of Lawyers with Disabilities is the place for those who've now got a disability to support and work together with each other to open doors for us all, and a place so that when lawyers later get a disability as part throughout their practice, they can turn to you for guidance and support. So best of luck for a fantastic future, and let's boldly go where the legal profession has needed to go for a long time. Best to you all.
Thank you to David Lepofsky for that note and the sore cheeks from smiling that I've got here. We are now going to be joined by Ina Chandha. Ina is a human rights lawyer, advocate and mediator, chair of the Human Rights Legal Support Center, and former chief commissioner of the Ontario Human Rights Commission.
Good evening, everyone. Happy to see so many of my superhero mentors, teachers, colleagues, friends, and even some students. Let me start by saying my pronouns are she, her. I'm coming from my hometown, the vibrant Brampton, which is the traditional territories of the Mississaugas of the Credit. Most noteworthy of my appearance is that I wear glasses and I have my trademark red lipstick, which always brings me joy. And I hope you can see that because I'm really smiling, as Delia says, from cheek to cheek. It's hurting. It's so nice to be with kindred spirits. To the organizers, I offer my heartiest congratulations in convening this important group. Now, I'm going to say the most obvious thing. Representation in the legal profession matters. And this coming together of like-minded lawyers and legal scholars is long, long, long overdue. And I use 3 longs because I've been practicing law for 3 decades. So we need to have more lawyers with disabilities out there, visible, working in the legal sector to help confront historical stereotypes and implicit biases, especially those that permeate, with all due respect, judicial decision-making that we see continue to oppress the disabled community, and regrettably, even coming from the Supreme Court and some of their recent judgments. Candidly, I find it frustrating when disability law is described as an emerging or new area of law. We've always been here. It's time to acknowledge the fundamental nature of the intersectionality of the reality of people with disabilities and how it underlies systemic discrimination. We need to see a shift of resources and power. It's vital for the well-being of all of our communities that law schools graduate more lawyers with disabilities. And we as a profession need to encourage and support them to take on leadership roles. Lawyering is a pathway to social change, and it's an essential instrument to correct historical discrimination. We need to build a critical mass of lawyers and legal scholars with disabilities for social justice to actually take hold in our communities. Simply put, we cannot tackle the lack of accessibility, poverty, disparities in education, employment, housing discrimination without advocates who understand and identify the real life conditions that cause systemic inequities. Obviously, no one organization can end poverty or undo racism or other oppressions that disadvantage the disability community, because it's about intersectionality. But today, I feel we have taken a key step forward in representation, in building a strong voice, promoting collaborations, and hopefully will make our communities more inclusive, more accessible, more equitable. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much for your remarks and for joining us here this evening. Next, we have Professor Ruby Dan from Thompson Rivers University Faculty of Law by video. And she is sitting in a work chair. It looks like to be an office with a low bookshelf behind her. She has shoulder length black hair and is wearing a red blouse and a black sweater.
Honored to be here today. My name is Ruby DeHaan. I'm a professor here at TRU Law, and I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the TRU Faculty of Law is located on the unceded and traditional territories of the Secwepemc within Secwepemc Ulu, and it's with humility and accountability that here at TRU Law, we strive to answer the call for truth and reconciliation in our work. I'm extremely honored to be here and to be invited by the Canadian Association of Lawyers with Disabilities. This is an incredible organization and an incredible group of people who brought this together. So thank you so much for this invitation and opportunity. As a professor, I have seen multiple students and lawyers who have struggled being able to access services and supports and accommodations during their law school journey. And I think CALL's mandate and purpose is so important that we ensure that there is this really fantastic dialogue in the legal profession, recognizing those challenges, identifying the intersectional barriers that students and lawyers experience for accessing accommodation, ensuring that we integrate empathy as a core lawyering skill and understanding trauma-informed skills throughout that, endorsing the social model and addressing stigma that we all experience. And the primary barrier also recognizing is always attitudinal. So recognizing how we can change the profession to ensure that we can have more lawyers and students welcomed into the profession, and we can actually continue this dialogue and embrace human rights and support. I also hope that we can continue teaching more classes, such as in mental health law and disability law. We can integrate all of these key conversations into all of the courses in law schools and within the profession. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and I'm extremely grateful and honored.
Thank you so much, Ruby. We're now going to hear from Rob Latenzio, Executive Director of Arch Disability Law Center.
Thank you so much, Odelia. Truly quite incredible to be with so many friends and familiar faces and amazing leaders and advocates. And it truly is an honor. Wonderful to be here with you all. I am the Executive Director of Arch Disability Law Center. My name is Robert Latenzio, and I would like to begin by acknowledging that I am joining you from Arch's offices here in downtown Toronto, which is on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. My pronouns are he, him. I have brown hair, yes, receding as well, dark frame glasses, blue jacket, dark blue jacket, and a black shirt. Thank you so much for this invitation. It truly is a privilege and an honor to be with you all today, and on what I believe to be an incredibly momentous and historic event. So thank you. I'd like to convey my sincerest gratitude and a huge congratulations to the founding board members and everyone involved in organizing this launch, and of course in bringing members of the profession together to create the Canadian Association of Lawyers with Disabilities, l'Association Canadienne des Juristes en Situation de Handicap. And I must say, just saying that out loud just continues to bring that smile on my face. This is such an incredible thing that is happening right now. An association such as this has been needed for a very, very long time. As Ina said, it's long overdue. And I think the fact that it's so long overdue, and we've all had these conversations at some point in time, is just a testament to the magnitude of what you all managed to accomplish. So thank you so much for all your work in putting this together. A huge congratulations. This is truly something to celebrate. Arch is a specialty poverty law clinic focused on advancing disability rights. In our work, I can confidently say that there are countless spaces that require the voices that this new association can bring. Ableist barriers persist in accessing law school, bar exam requirements, entering the profession, staying within the legal profession. In our work, including representing persons with disabilities, students with disabilities, and offering free consults to lawyers and lawyers with disabilities, we continue to find insidious barriers with devastating consequences. In partnership with Osgoode Hall Law School, Arch also offers the Disability Law Intensive program, which provides law student placements for experiential learning. And I must say, I am so delighted and grateful at the thought that our past, present, and future law students with disabilities will have the opportunity to be part of this new community that is being created. The work ahead of us continues to be substantial, but we are delighted to welcome the association in joining this discourse in aiming for a more diverse profession, challenging barriers within the profession, and barrier removal in legal services and access to justice for persons with disabilities. I wish to conclude with, again, a heartfelt congratulations and a heartfelt thank you from all of us at Arch. And we are thrilled at the prospect of working alongside you all for many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rob. We now have one more video note. So we are going to hear now from Christian Ferreira, the community liaison for the Canadian Association of Black Lawyers. He is in front of a wall with a couple of degrees behind him. He's wearing a dark blue suit and a red pattern tie.
Hello, bonjour. My name is Christian Ferrer, and I'm the community liaison for the Canadian Association of Black Lawyers. And I'm here to promote the launch of the Canadian Association of Lawyers with Disabilities and show my enthusiasm for the Association Canadienne des Juristes en Situation de Handicap. Now, one of the aspects of being a community liaison is that I'm a front-facing actor in the community. And I take this role seriously because before I wanted to become a lawyer, I didn't believe that the practice of law was meant for people like me who look like me. So through the Canadian Association of Black Lawyers and through the Canadian Association of Lawyers with Disabilities, I hope that we will work to be able to inspire young people to believe that just because we belong to a marginalized community does not mean that we can't succeed in the practice of law. The presence of CLD in our bar can do nothing but strengthen it, as they provide a voice to a perspective that has long since been marginalized. I'm particularly happy that this organization will exist for people and practitioners to feel like they aren't alone, to feel like there are resources and they have access to it. The intersectional disability representation within the practice of law is so important for effective representation of the society we work to serve, for the administration of justice, and to promote the public's confidence in our work. I'm so happy that the Canadian Association of Lawyers with Disabilities will be a resource and a community for lawyers that are differently abled. And I'm just so excited for the partnerships that will be built between this organization and ours. So welcome and congratulations to CLD from the Canadian Association of Black Lawyers.
Thank you so much. We are now going to hear from Juliette Lucy Chang Napton, who is Vice Chair of RODA, which stands for Roundtable of Legal Diversity Associations. Juliette.
Thanks so much, Odelia. My name is Juliette Lucy Chang Napton, and I go by she, her mix. I have dark hair. I'm wearing a black jacket with an orange patterned scarf in celebration of autumn. I'm broadcasting from the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe, otherwise known as Ottawa. So I'm bringing congratulations from the Roundtable of Legal Diversity Associations, which is an umbrella organization that brings together a coalition of equity-deserving Canadian legal associations. We foster dialogue and promote initiatives relating to the advancement of inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility in the legal profession, the judiciary, and within the broader legal community. RODA is, like all of us, honored to be here, thrilled, anticipatorily thrilled to welcome CALD to our membership ranks. And notwithstanding the heroic efforts of several bright stars, many of them here in the room, Lauren, Delia, David, to name a few, the disability voice has often been conspicuously absent and sorely missed from the equity-seeking community dialogue. That intersectional lens, we need it. And we just cannot wait to have you at the table to add to our depth of analysis, our understanding on inclusivity, and broaden our ideas for the way forward. So congratulations and thank you for all that you have already done. And I know it's not a small feat to launch an equity-seeking organization, really incredible work, all of you. But I am excited about all that you will do. And I'm reminded of the phrase and the development of the phrase that came out some years ago in the accessibility community, nothing about us without us. And I love how it has morphed into nothing without us. I believe, and I hope, but I believe it is demonstrative of where the voice of persons living with disabilities is now moving into a more public space and a more powerful space to speak. Nothing without us. It is an inspiring phrase that reverberates with meaning across the equity-seeking community writ large. Exclusion is what has brought us to the table, but inclusion is what we are going to build together. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you for all the work that you're doing. We can't wait to have you at the RODA table. Onwards and upwards. Thank you. Merci. Miigwech.
Thank you so much, Juliette. We're now going to hear from Alexandria Winterburn, Vice President of the Indigenous Bar Association in Canada. Welcome.
Hello, good evening. My name is Alexandria Winterburn. I have dark hair and I'm wearing a gray sweater, and I also have glasses and a headset on. So I want to start tonight by saying thank you to Odelia. Thank you to everyone at the Canadian Association of Lawyers with Disabilities for inviting me to your launch event. And thank you to the elder for her opening prayer, to all of the other speakers who've spoken tonight. I need to start by saying thank you, because that's how I was taught to begin important discussions in a good way and with thanks and recognition of everyone here, even in this virtual space. And it is so wonderful to have so many people on the Zoom with us tonight to celebrate this historic event. I also want to begin by recognizing that I'm joining you tonight from Toronto on the treaty lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. I am a Mohawk and Abenaki woman. My pronouns are she, her, and my father's family is Mohawk from Tyendinaga. My mother's family is Abenaki from Quebec. As Odelia mentioned, I'm also a lawyer and I'm the vice president for the Indigenous Bar Association in Canada, or the IBA. And the IBA is a national association of Indigenous lawyers, academics, judges, law students, law clerks, and paralegals. We have over 330 members who are also themselves members of Indigenous communities across Canada. And tonight, as we celebrate the launch and founding of CALD, and there is so much to celebrate, I am so happy to be here. I also wanted to reflect a bit on the origins of the IBA, my own association, and think about why professional organizations like CALD are so important for us as lawyers and for the legal profession more broadly. So the IBA was founded in the 1980s, and it was meant to be a space where Indigenous lawyers and law students could work to promote law reform on justice issues facing Indigenous peoples, to foster awareness of Indigenous issues, and to create that space for sharing and networking and coming together. And it's this last piece that I value most about the IBA, because in a world where we face discrimination and racism, barriers or challenges just because of who we are, the IBA, for me, is like coming home. And from the wonderful people I see around this Zoom tonight, CALD has that same feeling. And I want to thank you for that, because having that space where we can come together to advocate, to support one another, I've seen how momentous that can be, and how that and the IBA and other equity and diversity professional organizations, like some of the ones we have around with us tonight, like Rhoda and Cable, can accomplish real and meaningful change in the law, in the legal profession, and in society at large. So I'm so happy to be able to be here tonight and join you to celebrate CALD's official launch. I want to offer my deepest congratulations to the founders and to everyone who's a member of CALD. And on behalf of the IBA, I look forward to continuing to work with you and this amazing group of superheroes going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alexandria. And thank you to all of those who joined us with words of welcome tonight. It means a lot to us. There is so much to be done. So let's get started with that now. Tonight's much anticipated panel is about to begin. So please join me in welcoming them. All of these amazing panelists, and we are also thrilled with our stellar host, moderator, guest moderator for this evening, are going to lead us in a discussion about how we as disabled legal practitioners are reshaping the practice of law. They're going to speak for about 30 minutes, and then there will be opportunity for question, answer, and discussion, which we can help to facilitate as well as needed. But for now, I would like to hand the microphone over to Joita, who will moderate this part of our evening.
Thank you so much, Odelia. And can I just say how pleased I am and how delighted I am to be a part of the CALD launch. It is a real privilege both to sit in on this as a broadcaster, because I've had the opportunity and pleasure to speak to many of you in the past as guests on my show on Accessible Media Inc., But on a more, as someone who was told I would have made an excellent lawyer, but who, as a young woman, did not see anyone who looked like me represented in the legal profession, did not pursue that career path. This feels like a tremendous homecoming for me, to know that we have many talented, trailblazing lawyers with disabilities working to ensure that the legal profession reflects the valuable perspective of lawyers with disabilities is truly a genuine pleasure. So thank you so much for having me. My name is Joeita Gupta. My pronouns are she and her. I have dark hair, which is about shoulder length, and it's been pulled back into a ponytail. I'm wearing a purple turtleneck with black stripes. I'm joining you from my home office in downtown Toronto, which is subject to the Dish with One Spoon Treaty, which obliges all of us, whether we are Indigenous, settlers, or newcomers to Canada, as I once was, to together care for and share for our lands and resources. So thank you again for having me. Let me start by introducing our panelists tonight, because they are the ones you're really here to hear from. So I'm going to introduce everybody and we'll have a quick chance to say hello, and then we'll dig into the discussion part of this evening. Our first panelist is Ali Imri, who is currently a judicial law clerk at the Court of Appeal for Ontario. She graduated from Osgoode Law School in June 2022 after completing her law degree part-time due to her chronic illness. She has lived with a chronic illness for the last 9 years after developing it at age 17. While at Osgoode, Ali created the Disability Collective of Osgoode, a student group created for and by students with disabilities in order to provide a platform for collective advocacy and peer support amongst disabled students at Osgoode. Ali, hello and welcome. Thanks so much for joining us this evening.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Our second panelist is a powerhouse. Joy Luck is the first blind lawyer and the only solicitor in Hong Kong. She was conferred with a Master's of Law in Human Rights, postgraduate certificate in law and Bachelor of Law in Hong Kong, and upon completing her master's degree in human rights law, she worked with the Equal Opportunities Commission as an investigator handling complaints of discrimination and harassment on grounds of disability, sex, pregnancy, family status, etc. She was admitted as a solicitor of the High Court in 2010 and accredited as a mediator in 2013. Upon private practicing for several years, she worked as a compliance officer and legal counsel at an NGO called Dialogue in the Dark, which aimed at promoting the rights of persons with disabilities from 2019 to 2021. Joy is the activist in residence at the Center for Feminist Studies at York University and visiting scholar at the School of Disability Studies at the Toronto Metropolitan University. Joy Luck, delighted to have you with us this evening. Thank you for coming. Finally, our last panelist for this evening is recognized as one of Canada's top voices in accessibility and disability issues. Human rights lawyer Lauren MacDonald has made many people aware of the challenges Canadians living with disabilities face on an ongoing basis, but especially during COVID-19. She has built a following on LinkedIn, sharing her lived experience as a woman with profound hearing loss and creating disabilities issues awareness. This year, the Law Society of Ontario recognized her significant work to make the profession more accessible and inclusive with its prestigious Law Society Medal. In addition to that, she is a 2022 inductee to the Canadian Disability Hall of Fame for extraordinary contributions to enhancing the lives of people with disabilities. Lauren, welcome, and it's good to talk to you again as well. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, so thank you, and I'm delighted to be here. I want to give an opportunity for Joy to unmute her microphone and say hello. You may not have realized that you were muted, so I wanted to give Joy that opportunity for a second to unmute.
Go ahead, Joy. Would you like to unmute yourself and say hello?
Yeah, Tess, I don't know if the administrators of Zoom are able to unmute Joy to help her, if that's required.
We still can't hear you, Joy. I can't unmute you on my own.
If you're joining us over your laptop, Joy, you might be able to hit Alt-A to unmute yourself. Do you want to give that a try?
Oh, that worked.
Hi, Joy. Do you want to say hello?
Oh no, that still didn't work. Joy, we still can't hear you.
Hello, hello.
Oh, good.
Hello.
Hi, there we go.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes, thank you.
Hello, Joy. Thank you very much. We heard earlier this evening that although 25% of Canadians identify with a disability, when lawyers were surveyed, only 5% said they had a disability. We've heard that there are many challenges confronting lawyers with disabilities. Let me start there with you, Ali Imrie. You just graduated with a law degree. First of all, congratulations on that. You must be so pleased. But tell me a little bit about any barriers or challenges you might have encountered along the way in your journey as a lawyer.
For sure. Just before I start, visual description, I'm sitting against a white wall and I'm wearing a gray blazer and a dark shirt, and I have dark glasses on. So I think I could take up the whole panel time by talking about the barriers that I experienced in law school. So I will try to keep it brief. For context, my chronic illness is called myalgic encephalomyelitis, and some of the most pressing access needs that I have. The first is that I'm really only able to work or study or really do anything on a part-time basis. So after kind of being upright for a couple of hours, I need to take time lying down for my body to recover. And then the other is that due to my fatigue, I do sometimes use a wheelchair, though less so recently, but I did all through law school. And so I experienced a lot of physical accessibility barriers too. So I guess I'll start with law school and then can talk a bit about legal employment. In law school, as I said, kind of the most basic of the barriers I experienced was physical accessibility. So the most prominent example was in the winters, I had difficulty getting to the law school because I lived across the street in the law student housing, but both York and the city of Toronto wouldn't regularly shovel the snow. And so I wasn't able to get from my residence about 300 meters to the law school. It got to the point where I had scheduled friends to meet me before and after every class to help push me through the snows to make sure I could get there on time. Unfortunately, this was a several years long battle that only actually ended when I moved off campus and was never really satisfactorily resolved. And even a student who came after me who had similar accessibility needs faced the same barriers, even though we had kind of got some media attention and all of this. And so that was one ongoing battle. We were able to make some other improvements in areas of physical accessibility though. So one thing we were really proud of was the Disability Collective successfully lobbied the student government at Osgoode to pass a physical accessibility bylaw requiring that all student events be held in accessible spaces, which was really great because before then, that was a pretty big issue that students with any mobility needs were being left out of all social events on campus and associated with the law school. So that was physical accessibility. Another set of barriers was academic accommodations. I was lucky that this wasn't as pressing a need for me, but in my time working with the Disability Collective, I had so many friends and peers who were experiencing constant accessibility battles to get access to materials in an accessible way, to get equal access to testing and assignments. And so that was an ongoing struggle as well. And then I think another set of barriers were institutional access barriers and lack of knowledge. My accessibility needs, I recognize, are relatively unique, and it felt like for my first several years of law school, I I was just constantly setting up meeting after meeting and advocating for myself to make sure that I was able to access my education in the same way as my peers, which quite frankly was exhausting. It didn't feel like there was a roadmap and there weren't resources to turn to as I navigated all of these barriers. And that was why a friend and I decided to start the Disability Collective. And I'm hopeful that we've left behind some resources, and I'm hopeful that this group will be another set of resources for people in the same situation. So these are just some of the law school barriers I experienced. It got to a point where it felt like I was experiencing new accessibility barriers every other day, which had an extremely significant impact on my mental health. I've never experienced mental health challenges the way that I did in those first 2 years of law school, trying to navigate all of those barriers. And then I'm talking a lot, so I'll be really brief for the next part, but in looking for legal employment, I've also felt pretty significant barriers in terms of, I'm not quite sure how to frame this, but temporal accessibility. So as someone who can only work part-time, that's not something that legal employers love. I've had interviews canceled explicitly because I'm not able to work part-time once I disclose this. I'm so grateful right now to be at the Court of Appeal for Ontario, who have been really flexible and accommodating with me, which is fantastic, but that's right now an anomaly in my experience. It's not the norm. Which has been quite discouraging, that it feels like there's a lot of doors closed to people who have similar accessibility needs. And so that's been, again, kind of an ongoing theme throughout my experience in the legal profession so far. I will leave it there.
Ali, thank you very much for your candor and honesty, and for willing to be vulnerable with us and share the things that were challenging for you. Joy Luck, let me come to you next. You have been the first of you've been the first blind lawyer and solicitor in Hong Kong. You've broken a lot of glass ceilings, shattered a lot of glass ceilings. But did you have any barriers or challenges along the way that you wanted to talk about?
Actually, I can share my experiences, but first of all, I just want to confirm, because I cannot see. I want to know whether you all can see me clearly, or is there any too dark or too bright on the video?
I think you and I are in the same boat, because I can't see either. Did someone who's got 20/20 vision want to drop in here and tell us if Joy Luck is visible and looking good?
Looking good, Joy. Thank you so much.
Looking good, and you're sounding great. So tell us a little bit about any challenges you might have had along the way.
Okay, yes. First of all, I have to introduce myself, but I know you all describe your dressing, and then, but I really don't know I am wearing a long jacket and polo shirt, but I really don't know the color. I'm sorry for that, because nobody tells me that, because I live alone. And the challenges that I face when I decided to study law, when I was in the first year of law school, and many classmates told me that I should change to other discipline or other courses, because even I can graduate from law school, no law firm or law chambers will employ me. This is the truth in Hong Kong. Actually, it is very interesting that in Hong Kong and UK and New South Wales, and there are two occupations called solicitor and barrister. We have liberty to choose whether we want to be a solicitor or barrister. But after careful consideration, I decided to be solicitor. But I still have the right of audience in district court, magistrates court, and other courts. So I found that the first challenging is the reading or study laws book, the textbooks. At that time, most of the legislations and case law were online, so that I can access that kind of information. But for textbook, many law books have more than 1,000 pages. So I have to scan all the pages and then by myself, and then nobody has had the time to help me to proofread it, so that sometimes I really don't know whether the message or the sentence that I scan is correct. So that is the most difficult task for me during my time in law school. At a time, I hope that the university could provide more assistance in any form, or engaging many other volunteers for scanning books for those people with total blindness. Because at that I have to introduce myself. Sorry, I am total blind, which is a congenital. So I could see just 5% when before 20, but now I cannot see. So that this is the case that I am facing, and then the other thing is in courtroom. I had got the chance going to courtroom representing my clients, but it would be very difficult for us with no vision, because sometimes they have to read documents or papers. They would read, they will cite some cases, but they kind of cases are in physical form. That means in paper form, not in electronic form, so that I could not follow them, because they cite page 230 and paragraph H to J, something like that, H to I, something like that. So, but my electronic form is in Microsoft Word form, so that I don't have that kind of citations, citation remark. So I had got very challenging tasks. If the government or the Law Society or Bar Association in Hong Kong can provide more assistance for those people with disability, it would be better. Such as if I have got an assistant to help me to find the right pages, right sentence, it would be better. And then the other thing is, I practiced personal injury. So I had to watch or read photos and videos, and sometimes X-ray slide. It would be impossible for me to do that. And then even I have difficulty to understand a sketch plan as drafted by police at a traffic accident in the scene. So it is I found a difficulty. But if somebody of AI can provide some assistance, or the government can have some funding to help those people have that kind of challenge, it would be, I think it would be a must for the future development in the all all occupations, not just legal profession. And then lastly, I just hope that it will be I hope the AI can help us. I don't know whether you guys know that I can now see some photos by using my iPhone. The iPhone would describe the picture to me. If I put some fruit on the table, and then the AI will say, oh, there are some fruit on the table, then I think it is a very good tool for me and all people with disability, especially for those with visual impairment. And then the AI is trustworthy because when the AI see my tries to describe my photo, and then it says, oh, there is a child, so that means I am very young. So I think the AI is trustworthy. So I hope that the AI, the government, and all other relevant organizations can work together and provide a friendly working environment for those people with visual impairment. Last but not least, and then even though not just for working as a lawyer is very difficult, even walking here is also a challenge for me. I really could not hear the traffic light, the sound of the traffic light, so I could not cross the road safely. I think there should be some improvement from the government, but if I cannot go by myself, how can I go to courtroom by myself independently? So this is another problem, but I think it is not a legal issue here. So that is my sharing.
Joy, thank you. Thank you very much, Joy, for being so honest and talking about the details, because how you read your textbooks and how you get to court often makes a huge difference to the ability of a lawyer with a disability to participate and contribute fully. Lauren MacDonald, I want to put the same question to you. What do you feel have been some of the challenges that you might have faced yourself, or that you would say more generally are faced by lawyers with disabilities who want to practice?
Yeah, thank you. It's very interesting as I was listening to Ali, who is a new graduate of law school, and thinking back to my experience nearly 20 years ago when I was in law school, and thinking, gosh, things have not come that far at all, which is somewhat depressing. But on the other hand, first, I need to back up. My apologies. I am coming to you from downtown Toronto. I'm from the traditional territories of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people. I'm white woman wearing a cream-colored and blue floral top. I have short hair with, I like to call them silver wisdom highlights, and because of my age. And so I'm delighted to be here. CALD has done what I could not, because I have been wanting to do something like this for a number of years, but life gets in the way. So going back to my experience, my fight for law school started before I even entered the front doors of my law school, because I needed to be properly accommodated for a profound hearing loss. I was the first student to attend my law school who had the profound hearing loss, and the law school was extremely supportive. But of course, the fight is with the university at large, those that control the purse strings of the Office for Students with Disabilities, whatever name that they have. And that was I started an undergrad in preparation of going to law school because I was denied a captioner for undergrad studies. And I kept up with it. I was using a sign language interpreter, even though that was not my first language. And even getting that admission to law school, I thought, okay, things will change now, because now law school is a very different learning experience than undergrad. And so they have to provide this accommodation for me in the form of a captioner. They, being the university at large, did not see it that way. And so what I did is I decided to go to law school to start as a part-time student, because I figured if I got in the door, I could continue fighting from within, because now I was finally in law school and I continued to fight. But that was exhausting because, you know, Allie, you alluded to this as well, the energy that it takes away from your first year studies when you are, you know, having to deal with administration and having to put forward arguments and get letters of support from other lawyers with disabilities who I knew, there were not many, thinking back 20 years ago, that I could call on. And finally, at the end of that first year, it took the threat of a human rights complaint before I got captioning for the September of that year. And while this was going on, the AODA was also in the process of being created. And so the irony was, did not escape me, that I was getting my education, seeing how the AODA was coming to be, along with the very real application. So initially, the university said, yes, you can have captioning for your lectures at law school. And I said, but what about guest lectures, mooting competition, all of those other things that are the experiential learning outside of a classroom that are also quite critical. And I had to fight for that. And that was finally agreed to. And but it was exhausting. And then unfortunately, at the end of that first year of fighting, I was diagnosed with cancer. It also doesn't escape me that all of that stress didn't help, you know, with my health status. And so long story short, it took me 4.5 years or 4 years to finish law school instead of the traditional 3. And then it was time to find articles. And once again, very challenging because I have a hearing loss that requires me to do things differently, not worse, not without the same results. It may take longer because I have to rely on support to hear what I'm missing in the form of captioning. And so as an articling student, I also then had to fight to have a captioner in the courtroom, in the Superior Court when I was appearing. Never had that happen before. And then I had to fight to have a captioner in social justice tribunals. And it is exhausting being the first to bloody do everything. And I was very fortunate because there are many friends that are attending this event that I was able to lean on for support. I'm delighted to see Justice Saucin here because he was then Dean of Osgoode Law School. And that wasn't the law school I went to, but was definitely an ally and very interested in supporting me in however way, and have ever since. Very grateful for that. Also, I had approached ARCH, Disability Law Center, back when I was trying to get accommodation for law school. So I go back a long way with a lot of the folks that are on this, and very grateful. But I was sure that when I graduated from law school, captioning would disappear, would absolutely disappear from the university campus, and delightfully surprised that that has not been the case and that it has continued. And I have continue to try and break down barriers where I see them. Constantly surprised that I'm the first one to have to do this. But it's tough doing it on your own. So that's why I had always thought for a good decade, if not longer, we need to have an association. We need to know where our people are, where we can call on someone who has a lived experience as a lawyer with a disability for that support, because it makes all the difference when you don't feel so alone. And also, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. That a student at a different law school may have already done this. Ali, huge kudos to you for creating that disability collective. That was also something that I tried to do when I was in law school without success, because I constantly got there too few of you to make it worth the while. Why is that, do you wonder? Because you haven't created a safe space, and I'm talking the legal profession broadly. There isn't a safe space, and you haven't made it possible for Canadian lawyers with disabilities to get to know each other. And if we had that opportunity to harness the individual strength as a collective, we would be doing amazing, amazing things. So that's my very short answer. I know we're close on time. We don't want to cut off any questions, but and I have some other points to say very briefly, is that one of the comments, or several of the comments in the introduction, has been how this is long, long, long overdue, how we've needed something like this. Well, in the spring, I had the opportunity to celebrate the life of Justice Rosalie Bella. That came out wrong. Celebrate her accomplishment. She's still very, very much alive. Celebrate her accomplishments, particularly as it relates to disability jurisprudence. And in doing so, Justice Abella wrote a report 40 years ago in 1983. So it's almost 40 years. And she wrote it for the Ontario Ministry of the Attorney General. And that report is called Access to Legal Services by the Disabled. And at the end of that report, she put together 100 recommendations, the majority of which have not been followed. And many of those recommendations were also related to supporting lawyers with disabilities in providing services. Now, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to put the link to that report in the chat. I'm not sure if you're able to get it. But so this is nothing new, but because of inherent ableism, nothing's getting done. And this is why a group like this can really get the momentum and harness the energy to get things done. So with that, I'll stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. And yes, we do see your link in the chat. I'm going to ask all three panelists to, we'll have one more question from me, and this is going to be our lightning round. Please keep your answers very brief so we can get to some questions. What is, in your view, the largest impact that a lawyer with a disability can make to the profession? Ali, I'm going to start with you, and please keep it brief.
Okay, that's a really big question. I think in my short experience so far, I think it's just the ability to relate to other people who have shared experiences, the ability to empathize and to understand where people are coming from. And I think, yeah, that just allows you to serve clients better when you can understand what they're experiencing, when you've seen at least some of the same battles, even if in very different contexts. And so I think, yeah, it's really essential to have lawyers with disabilities in the legal profession, particularly in these kind of client-facing roles, interacting with people with disabilities.
Joy Luck, what's the largest impact that a lawyer with a disability can make to the legal profession overall?
I think for the whole society, it would be a very, just like a very good sample for them to know that people with disability can still take up a very important roles, such as a lawyer in any country or in Hong Kong, just like me. I had got a client that when he saw me, then he said that I don't want to have a bright lawyer because I don't trust you. And then I told him that you are on legal aid. I'm sorry for that, so that I am assigned to help you. And then finally he got what he wanted. So and then he thanked me and said that, oh, I know that, oh, even a blind lawyer still work professionally. That's my my thought.
Thank you very much. Last word to you, Lauren MacDonald. What is the largest impact that a lawyer with a disability can have on the profession?
Best advice I have is to show up and just be present, be in their face of the broader legal profession so that they see you and they hear you and they need to recognize you, that we are not going to shrink away and hole up in a dark room somewhere and try to practice law, that we are fully contributing members of the profession. And since COVID, the thing I did is write. I've been writing for magazines, I've been writing articles, I've been on LinkedIn to try and create disability awareness by sharing my own journey, because you need to humanize the experience of disability so that people without disabilities can empathize and understand and see themselves. Because if you don't have a disability, just wait, you will have one. And that's the thing I've done, is I've just tried to be front and center in front of people and just be vocal or write, just so that people get that disability perspective that is often missing. And this is how this association can, again, harness that energy so it doesn't all fall onto the usual suspects to do all of that work, because I'm old and I'm tired. So if I can get the younger folks coming up doing that, all the better. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Lauren. So we've got a bit of time for questions. How much time do we have, Odelia and Tess? Do I have half an hour, or do we want to tighten that up a little bit? Does anyone?
It's Odelia here. We have 20 minutes for questions so that we can have a little bit of time to wrap up without cutting anyone off. And we have a question actually from someone who's waiting to ask. Khalid Mahdi has a comment, I believe.
Go ahead. Do you want to drop it in the chat? Any questions can go in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we can unmute you, whatever's easier.
Can everybody hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you.
So I'm just, let me get my camera on. Can everybody see me okay? For those of you in the background or listening in, I'm wearing a blue shirt with yellow checkers. I am in a sitting position with a blank background. I guess and then yeah, that's how I look. I'm just want to first off say thank you to everybody for bringing this together. I can tell you, as someone who just entered the legal profession, there's a lot of work to do still. I live with a neuromuscular condition, impacts everything from my muscles to my lungs. I'm in a wheelchair full time, and I just entered the profession about a year ago. In law school, I can tell you, my experience was quite accommodating. The faculty at Western really did a job to really try to accommodate all my needs. They were really good at it. And, thankfully, thanks to them, that's how I was able to complete law school and get to where I am today. The biggest challenge that I faced in law school, though, was I was the only individual in a wheelchair in the law school. I entered the law school where there were no buttons on any of the doors. There wasn't an accessible bathroom. There was nothing. It took me to enter law school for them to decide, well, it's time for us to make this change. Unfortunately, I hope that that wouldn't be the case, but that seems to be a pattern that many of us face, is that we're the ones who actually are trailblazing things, and we're looked at upon as trailblazers. And quite frankly, it shouldn't be that way. Entering the legal profession, I noticed things were slightly different. I noticed completely that there was just no understanding or really no knowledge of or even any interactions with individuals in wheelchairs, lawyers in wheelchairs. So I felt a little bit, I guess, just out of place many times. And there wasn't necessarily that accommodating reality as there is, you know, when we're thinking about billable time and we're thinking about the demands of maintaining that. So I guess really my question is, how do you stand out in a world where it's just so focused on really things that are such as billable time? They're so focused on, how long you can work. And, you know, at the same time, how do you navigate the world like that? And so I guess really my question is, any advice to a new lawyer just entering the profession to kind of navigate this different and new world?
Any one of our panelists, thank you so much for sharing your experience and for your question. Did any one of our panelists want to offer some advice for a new lawyer with a disability entering the profession?
I can start. And Khalid, thank you for sharing your experience in law school. And you just really highlighted the point that I made, that you have to be present. You have to be in front of people sometimes for changes to happen, because if they see, they being the decision maker, see you're not going away, they have no choice but to make changes. And I really believe for new lawyers, an organization, an association like this is going to be very powerful and helpful. Granted, it's early days for this association and it takes time to build, but this is definitely a step in the right direction to connect people. And the other thing I would say is find your allies as well. You know, not just try to spend all your time looking for lawyers who also live with disability. Also look for the allies who will sponsor you, champion you, back you up when you say something, notice when you're not saying something. Those champions, those allies can be very critical as this association starts to build and get the momentum. So try and find your people in that way.
Before we move to any other questions, did either Ali or Joy, did either one of you want to add briefly as well? Any advice for new lawyers?
As a not even lawyer yet, not sure if I'm qualified to answer that question, but I would echo the same thing. I think finding community wherever you can is what's helped me get through this law school and this part of my career so
Amazing.
far. I think I totally, oh, okay.
There we go. I think Ali cut out there for a minute. Hopefully they'll be able to reconnect with us. Just looking at the time, are there any hands up? I don't really see anything in the chat that looks like a question, but does anyone have a hand raised that they'd like to ask a question? If you're joining over the phone, you can use *9 to raise or lower your hand. If you're, of course, you can always do the raise hand function on Zoom.
Okay. I have, it's Odelia here, sorry, and I'll turn on my camera as well. So there are a few questions that we have. I have a question, and then we've had, and then we have one 2, 3 after that.
All right, why don't you go first?
So it's also kind of a comment. I'm kind of taking liberty here, but it's an important one, I think. When we were talking about how to structure the organization, and we surveyed people to the degree that we could in terms of the name. You'll notice that in French, it talks about jurists, which we don't really have a common understanding of necessarily in English. But the idea being that it's important for us to have people in the organization with a diverse range of legal backgrounds and practices. So we talk about people who are working within legal institutions, but also those who maybe are trained and not working for a variety of reasons related to ableism, and people who are we talk about in our on our website, the guiding principles we have. We say we welcome lawyers, judges, legal academics, scholars, law students, paralegal students, and other community members in the field of law, as well as in those who practice Indigenous forms of law. And one of the reasons that we had this kind of broad definition is because, as you've talked about, there are so many barriers to being able to attain this education, profession, privilege, that we didn't want to replicate them. And so the comment, in a way, is as a reminder to folks who are here that our membership is open, and beyond that of our English name. It's really important to us. We have a question from Juliet, and then one that Tess had to ask, but I can put that forward, or Tess can put that forward, and then Alex. So 1, 2, 3, Juliet, Tess, and Alex.
All right. So Juliet, do you want to go first?
Sure. Just a quick question, and it's sort of the standard question, but can you give some advice, the panelists, to people, all of us, about how do we be good allies to each other from whatever spaces we're coming from, whenever our able particular background or not? How do we be good allies to each other?
Any takers on that one? How do we be good allies?
I can go. I think, the first step, I think, is taking your cues from people who are directly affected, from people with disabilities. But I think also, Lauren alluded to this, but being there to support people when they're fighting against unfair things. So I think for me, one of the best examples of allyship I had in my time at Osgoode was when I was experiencing difficulties with snow clearing. One of my good friends both showed up day after day to push me through the snow to class, and was kind of doing that concrete work, but also would come with me to the meetings that I needed to go to with the administration, because I was understandably emotional and was having difficulty. And so she would come and try to help me articulate my thoughts, and to help me make my points clear, and to help follow up with me afterwards. And I think that was really, really impactful and really helpful, and made me feel like I had someone on my side who was ready to fight the battle with me, and really made a difference, even if it didn't impact the tangible outcome, made a difference in my experience of the events, for sure.
And one thing I'll add, I'm sorry, I hope I didn't cut anyone, but one thing I'll add is amplify what you see from influencers, lawyers who have disabilities who are active on social media. Amplify what they said, reshare their posts, comment on their posts, actively engage and learn, because that's really how people start to know. Diversify your feed on social media as well, because if you're only hearing from people that look exactly like you, you're not getting the diversity of perspectives. And so those are ways that I found that help people to become better allies across different equity deserving groups, and also be very mindful of intersectionality, that there are lawyers who are Black who have disabilities, Indigenous lawyers with disabilities, and many different equity deserving groups have members of the bar that are part of that. Now, hopefully, this association will see more of that in the diversity of our membership, but really just to amplify those voices that you're physically hearing when you're in a room or not hearing from. Invite them to a seat from around the table if you have privilege to do so. And on social media, just to amplify by resharing and commenting, and that really goes a long way as well.
Thank you, Lauren. We have about 5 minutes for questions. Alex, yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just want to say that for the previous question, that the name of the organization, I understand that many people avoid to use the term disability, and in Hong Kong, some people will describe the people with disability as a person of differences. So that this is the term that adopted by some organizations in Hong Kong. And then for the second question about the airline, I just think that the airline should not be limited to the membership of professional lawyers or the member of a lawyer with disabilities. It should open to the community. And then I think I'm doing some more public education in person or through social media, and engaging many other people without disability to join us, and then we work together, and then it will be a better approach rather than fighting for the interest by ourselves only. And the other is I hope that we have a regular meeting or roundtable regular meeting monthly or quarterly to discuss the progress and then the special issues on legal professional who have disabilities. So this is what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. That's amazing. We only have about 4 minutes left for maybe one last question. Alex, you're up next. I would appreciate if you could keep your question brief or your comment brief. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I was going to say, do you guys see a difference between like a transition between human rights like commission cases and civil litigation? Because there's like when does enforcement come in for you guys? I was just wondering, like yeah, when do you think we should call an enforcement for certain vulnerable situations?
Question, who would like to take that on the panel? Enforcement for certain vulnerable situations. I think I'm only going to have a chance to hear from one panelist on this, just because we've got about 4 minutes left. Lauren, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted at that moment. Alex, I'm not exactly sure what your question is, because you're talking about enforcement and the Human Rights Commission cases and civil litigation. Are you talking about how can we ensure that our human rights are being respected? And is it best to go through human rights tribunals or to do civil litigation? I'm sorry, I'm not clear on that. If you wouldn't mind broadening your question.
Sorry, there's a certain small group of people that have been waiting for political change for like 6 years or more, and those types of cases and those people that have been really hanging on that haven't even had human rights tribunal cases heard. I'm just wondering, where did those people go? Where do they fit in?
I'm going to presume, Alec, that you are asking the question and are based in Ontario. Would that be fair?
Sorry, no, I'm based in Nova Scotia.
Oh,
Our
okay.
discrimination cases are quite huge. There's a lot going on here. So
Yeah, and I'm sorry to inform you that it's not any better in Ontario, and that's why I asked the question. And I certainly hear what you're saying, and there are a number of the human rights lawyers in the bar in Ontario who are trying to come up with innovative ways to address the tremendous backlog that we have with the Human Rights Tribunal here in Ontario, by way of informal mediations and things like that, that will see results happen much quicker. There's no quick fix to doing this, unfortunately. And it's something that is very much on the minds of all of us who do practice human rights law. And I'm sure in Nova Scotia as well as in Ontario, and probably in other provinces and territories right across the country. Sad to say.
Well, it's a sad reality, but we're going to have to leave it on that note. Thank you, panelists, Lauren MacDonald, Ali Emery, and Joy Luck for your insight and contribution. And thank you everyone for asking questions. I'm sorry we couldn't get to more of you tonight, but this is not the end of the conversation. Rather, it is the beginning of a dialogue. So please continue to have those conversations. Someone is asking when the next meeting is. I cannot tell you that, but I can tell you that I'm going to pass you back to the very capable Odelia, who can probably tell you when the next meeting is taking place. Odelia, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so very much. This was a wonderful, wonderful discussion. And it was really nice to be able to sit back and listen as everybody added their unique and important perspectives. And yes, this is a beginning. Well, these conversations have been happening for a long time, but the point really is that we're not stopping here. So I wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about what we're doing and where we're going as an organization, and how, you know, everybody who is here, who wants to be a part of it and take on various roles, what's happening. So I think I mentioned before the values that we have as an organization. We really do want to set this up to be a strong association that has longevity and stability and is democratically run. We want the ideas to be generated from membership. And so what the founding board is doing right now is kind of creating the scaffolding for the organization. So we're really, you know, stay involved, message us, tell us what you would like to be involved with. If you have an idea, there are a few people who've said this is going on in my jurisdiction or my school, and we have been able to collaboratively work to support, and I'm hoping that we'll do more of that advocacy work. There's a lot to build and do here. So a few things that I wanted to mention in particular. First of all, we've been in touch with, there have been some discussions about student involvement. And I think we've heard in tonight's panel that there certainly are barriers that we face, and we say we, you know, as disabled practitioners, that we have faced in the education setting and then through into the workplace setting and beyond. And so there have been some discussions about how to organize students, because when I was a student at the University of Ottawa, I helped to found a disabled lawyers group. And then my cousin who was attending helped to refound, I'm sure we were refounding, the disabled student group. And then another student got in touch with me about founding a disabled. So we need to have structure and sharing of resources And so we can have that longevity and not have to fight these fights again. It is exhausting, as people talked about, the drain and the energy of doing this trailblazing and advocacy work. So students are organizing nationally. We are talking with them as well. So it's, I would encourage people, if you are not connected to your student group, message us and we can help you get in touch with the folks at the Disability Collective of Osgood, who are working to really try to establish and entrench something, in particular Angela Dietrich, who's there. And so email if you'd like to connect. We've actually had in the chat some folks who said, how do I get involved in my school level? Where are the organizations? Because this collectivity is so important. We are still looking for founding board members to help us build that scaffolding. And I see Angela's put her direct email into the chat as well. So please check our website. If someone can throw that into the chat again, we are taking kind of on a rolling basis. People are invited to submit if they'd like to be involved with our group as we are trying to create the framework. We really want to ensure diversity in that membership. And when we say diversity, we mean it in a wide sense. So diversity of practice area, experience, geographical diversity, diversity in terms of where folks have been trained, diversity in terms of whether, you know, indigeneity, racial, ethnic background. I'm not going to get all of those intersections, thank you, Lauren, mention, you know, into the, and there may be intersections that we're not even thinking of. And of course, diversity in terms of disability experience. We aim to be disability led. Allies are welcome, but the majority of our leadership identify as having a disability. We don't want to give short shrift to the ideas that are coming into us today. We are launching to make ourselves known, to have the volume of our conversation amplified, but we have more to do, and we'll be in touch. I want people to know that if you've signed on through Eventbrite, there will be a push of information to you about how to stay in touch with us. You will have to take actively the opportunity to fill out that information to be able to be a member. We didn't want to just automatically sign everybody up, but please take that opportunity to join us, okay? So look for that email, fill out that form, share it with folks you know, who identify, who are allies, okay? And we will be in touch and continue to build. And hopefully by this time next year, we will be able to really be doing some amazing things. We have a few minutes left, and I want to introduce Julia Badi, who's going to help end tonight's wonderful event. So please welcome Julia.
Hi, everyone. Good evening, and thanks so much, Adelia. And thanks, everyone. So first, my name is Julia. My pronouns are she, her. So I'm one of the founding board members of CALD, and I'm speaking to you from my home in Toronto. And I have short, dark brown, curly hair, and I'm wearing a black sweater. And so just before, like, the main thing I want to say is just the thank yous to everyone that has been part of this and has made this come together. There's just, so I just want to start by saying a huge thank you to everyone, but first to all of the attendees, to everyone that has joined this meeting and come here to listen to our wonderful panelists and all the discussions. And so we're super grateful to have you join us tonight. And just on that note, again, just from repeating what Adelia said, just that there will be a recording and that it will be available soon, and we'll be sending it out through email to everyone who has registered through Eventbrite. And the next thing about keeping in touch with us is through our social media accounts. You're able to find us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn. So please do stay in touch. We've made some really important connections here tonight, and we look forward to maintaining them. So I hope that you can all reach out to us on those platforms to find us. And again, for participants who are looking for CPD hours, I just wanted to mention quickly again that for those of you in Ontario, the CPD program has been accredited by the Law Society of Ontario. The program contains 1 hour of professionalism content, and this program also contains 30 minutes of EDI professionalism content. And we're in the process of getting CPD accreditation from the Law Society of British Columbia, and we'll share more additional details about this and accreditation in other jurisdictions as soon as we have it. We wanted to also say again a huge thank you to all of the panelists, the moderator, and all of our well-wishers that spoke here tonight. We're so privileged to have you with us tonight. We also wanted to thank Elder Myrna Kiknosway for our wonderful welcome at the beginning of this meeting. And also thank you to our CART and ASL interpreters, our CART captioner and our ASL interpreters, and to all of the called board members and the planning committee that has worked behind the scenes tirelessly to get this meeting happening tonight. And in particular, we wanted to thank we want to recognize and thank Rabi Abid, who's a research assistant with Windsor Law. And she's been working with us on so many different aspects of this event. She's been helping with the tech logistics, with all of our social media, including live tweeting tonight's event, and with the promotion for tonight. And finally, we want to thank again our sponsors for tonight, who have graciously donated the funds necessary to make tonight possible. Lexardia, Strategic Workplace Equity and Conflict Resolution Solutions, and Windsor Law. And with that, I want to wish all of you a very good evening, and we hope to see you all again soon.